Hi, I am very honoured to be with the one and only Mr. Alan Fletcher, better known as Dr. Karl Kennedy from Neighbours. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Russell. The honour is all mine. I promise you that.
Yeah, talking to you all the way from Australia. What time is it there?
It's just coming up to 7 p.m. now in Australia for Australia, and I've just had my tea and watched the news. So it's always very funny. This 9 hour time difference is always just a little bit weird. But of course, during our summer, it gets out to 11 hours. So then it gets quite strange.
It does. Can I just thank you first of all, because since Neighbours finished, I've seen you 2 or 3 times on the telly. You must have been swamped with interviews, and we thank you for taking the time and trouble to come and to talk to us at Can Do FM. It must have been quite hectic for you these past few weeks.
It was very hectic, but I was spending time talking about my favourite show in the world. So it's a pleasure to do that. Always a pleasure to talk about Neighbours. But yes, very very hectic, very emotional time too.
Yeah.
The outpouring of grief from fans in the UK
Yes.
and here in Australia was palpable, and a lot of emails. I wake up every morning and answer, probably up to 10 emails just from fans who want to reach out to me through my website and say hi and just express their appreciation for the show and how sad they are. But yeah, it's sad times.
It is. I mean, I've just mentioned to friends that I was talking to you, and normally when I interview, they just go, "Oh, all right." But because I was talking to you, they're going, "Oh, Karl Kennedy for Neighbours." Absolutely starstruck. Now, you're here primarily to talk about your show. You could actually come into Barrow, to the Forum Theatre in Barrow, on your one-man show, The Doctor Will See You Now, which is coming to the Forum on the 8th of September. Do you want to tell the listeners roughly what the format will be?
Surely. It's an in-conversation style show. Now, my beautiful wife, Jennifer, who I've been married to for 32 years, that's my other wife, not Susan, of course, she interviews me because she knows so much about me. And basically, we use lots and lots of old video clips of Neighbours in a sort of compartmentalised way. So we look at Dr. Karl's medical life. We look at his affairs and all that sort of stuff, and we look at all the disasters that have befallen the residents of Ramsay Street, and we also have a little bit of a look back at my career prior to Neighbours, because there was 17 years of work prior to Neighbours and a lot of work after that in the UK as well, and in music. So basically, it's a all-round show with lots of fun, lots of music, and lots of laughs and Q&As and meet and greets.
Yeah. I mean, now talking about your music, I did read you've played Henry Higgins in My Fair Lady. I mean, I'm a big musical fan, as the listeners know. So please tell me about that.
Yeah, wonderful role. I mean, genuinely wonderful role. I think probably is my favourite music theatre role I've ever done, because Rex Harrison made the role famous, but I tried to take a slightly different view on the role because I was younger than Rex when I played it, and so I sort of looked at it from a slightly different perspective. But gee, those songs, they're so good. Although I can confess to you, on opening night, I mucked up the lyrics in the very first song.
Well, they are so. It's virtually a patter song, isn't it? In some cases.
Yeah. Yes, indeed. I started on the wrong verse and got myself in a bit of a pickle, but I sorted myself out fairly quickly and got on with the show. But a genuinely superb role. Probably my favourite music theatre experience ever, Russell, was when Natalie Bassingthwaite, who plays Izzy Hoyland on Neighbours, and myself, we produced a version of Rocky Horror Show, which utilised the entire cast of Neighbours in every role. And we put it on with a 40-piece choir, a huge orchestral band, and did it for charity in one of Melbourne's biggest theatres, 2 shows in the big theatre there, which became 3 shows. And it was an absolute blast. And we raised a lot of money. Very, very enjoyable.
Oh, I wish I could have seen that. I wish I could have seen it. And now you are also in a band, The Waiting Room.
Yes, we formed this band back in 2004 and played primarily here in Melbourne at the Neighbours Night. There was a Neighbours Night every Monday. But very quickly, the word got around the UK that the band existed. So we were booked 10 times over 8 years to go and play the university circuit and the walkabout circuit and so forth. So we had a wonderful, wonderful 10 years in the UK, 8 years in the UK, and about 15 years here in Melbourne in residency. So A very, very popular band, very successful. But I've given away the rock music now. I don't tend to do much rock and roll, and I'm very much ensconced in the Americana country music scene now.
Yes, because you also appeared, I remember you appearing in Soap Star Superstar a few years ago. And I did read you did a version of Wonderwall for Radio 1's Live Lounge. Would you like to tell us how that came about?
I did indeed. Jo Wiley and I, Jo, of course, was she had the Live Lounge for years. We developed a great relationship. I used to write songs for Jo every now and again and sing them on her show, things like that. And she actually appeared on Neighbours as an extra, which I organised when Neighbours came to film in the UK. So we had a close relationship, and in fact, we messaged just the other day at the end of Neighbours. So Jo invited me in to the Live Lounge, very big honour, because as you know, there's very big bands play the Live Lounge, and I did a acoustic version of Wonderwall, one of the great experiences to chalk up.
Most definitely. Now, going back to Neighbours, because the listeners will want to hear about that. 1994, you took on the role of Dr. Karl Kennedy, but I did read you made an appearance in Neighbours before that, Greg Cooper.
Yes, that's right. This was a funny one. As you know, Kylie Minogue played an apprentice mechanic on Neighbours, and she has to have a supervising mechanic. But for 3 weeks, they didn't have anyone supervising her, so they just wrote a character just to do that. And of course, they gave that character a lovely, deep, dark, secret storyline to portray. So I had a very enjoyable time playing Greg Cooper. And then they asked me to come back and be Greg Cooper for another year. But I was actually working in the theatre very happily doing Shakespeare. So I declined the offer. I'm rather glad I did, because, of course, 7 years later, I got to come back as Dr. Karl.
Yes. So what was your favourite period of being Dr. Karl, would you think? Favourite storyline?
Yeah, they're all very different, but probably the favourite storyline was when Karl and Izzy were together and Susan was part of that sort of triangle. And the storylines were just so rich, because they went on for years. The first of all was Izzy was with Karl and she was pregnant with another man's child, and when she falsified medical records to look like it was Karl's child. But then, of course, when he finds out it isn't, he drops Izzy and gets back with Susan, and Susan and Karl get married on the Thames, but through a very convoluted storyline, Izzy turns up there and has a baby, which is in fact Karl's. It was an amazing storyline and amazing times. And of course, Jackie Woodburn plays Susan and Natalie Bastingthwaighte who plays Izzy were two of my greatest friends. So it's such an enjoyable time bouncing off each other.
I mean, everybody's really sad that Neighbours has finished. It's become a part of our daily lives over the years.
Yes.
But the listeners can come and see you and reminisce on those wonderful, wonderful times. So shall we just remind the listeners where and when? It's appearing at the Forum on the 8th of September. Tickets are £25 and £22.50 concessions, and there is a £40 meet and greet. And I would expect these tickets to go very, very fast, listeners. So get down to the Forum as soon as you can. Would you like to say anything else to the listeners about that night?
No, other than to say I can almost guarantee you'll have a fabulous time, and I look forward to meeting as many people as I can, although I do have to limit the number of people I meet, but I'm really looking forward to meeting everybody and just performing the show for you, because I know there's a lot of people up there in Barrow who love Neighbours as much as I do. They
most certainly do. It's been an absolute honour and a pleasure, and thank you for being such a wonderful guest, Alan, and I wish you all the very best with your tour.
Thanks, Russell. I look forward to seeing you.